As Christina said, my name is Kendra Barnhart. I'm here located out of our Chambersburg office. I've been with the firm for going on about 2 years, started my career in banking and then moved over to private accounting. And now here I am with SEK, loving every minute of it. You can move on to the next. Bonnie Alshire is my supervisor here at the Chambersburg office. Unfortunately, she was unable to be a part of this presentation today, but she is another wonderful source of information here and everything QuickBooks. Today, the curse and the beauty of QuickBooks is it is not a cookie cutter program for each individual or each business. So we're going to do a high level overview of QuickBooks Online and the advantages of it, what is to come, and everything like that, and different comparisons of the different versions. And of course, we'll leave some time for questions at the end because I know that there's going to be some specific questions. So I want to preface this by saying we actually just had a meeting yesterday with our Intuit representatives. And for the first time, we officially heard that while there is no sunset date yet for QuickBooks Desktop, it will be going away. So the reality of the situation is QuickBooks Online will be the way to go here. As I said, there is no sunset date yet for QuickBooks Desktop, so it's not like it's going to be happening, for 2024. So we do have some time. And I know there's a lot of hesitation. There's hesitation within the QuickBooks Pro Advisor community, especially when it comes to different government organizations, because there is some complexity there. So right now, our suggestion to all of you is to not rush into QuickBooks Online, to really speak it over with whomever your accountant contact is, so we can look at the best way to handle your file transition, to handle your conversion. And obviously, we do suggest waiting till a year-end purpose. So again, we are going to be starting that conversation, especially with some of our smaller businesses that are going to be easier to make the transition. So now we'll get into the advantages here of QuickBooks Online. I'm sorry, can you go back? Some of the advantages to QuickBooks Online over QuickBooks Desktop is you have access to your QuickBooks file anywhere, anytime, as long as you have internet access, which in today's world is pretty much anywhere. There is no hardware or software required, so you don't have to have a big server located in a server room. You don't have to, download anything to your computer. It is all internet based. Another beauty of this is there is no updates. So if you process payroll through QuickBooks and you get that little pop-up window every time that says you have updates, that is no more with QuickBooks Online. Everything is going to be up to date, and going along with that, there is no backups. You don't need to worry about having a flash drive somewhere that has years of backups on it. Everything is, what do they say, in the cloud? Everything is out there. Bank feeds. Bank feeds is not just limited to your actual bank account. It actually goes into credit card, debit cards, and American Express as well. And what bank feeds are, it is an automatic connection to any online account that you have, again, like bank or credit cards. And it will automatically bring in any of your transactions on a nightly basis. So you log out for the day, and at a certain time, I forget what time it is, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, QuickBooks reaches out to your bank, obviously all over internet basis, and they bring in all of the transactions that have come. And then the next morning when you log in, you can go in and look at all those transactions and say, yes, match it to what is already in my QuickBooks system, or, oh, wait, I forgot about that transaction. Go ahead and add it. You can classify it. It's a very neat tool. It is definitely something we suggest that only one person is in charge of, just to be careful and make sure there's no duplicated entries or that everything is classified correctly. But that is something that QuickBooks Desktop does not offer, that has really proven to be a positive when it comes to QuickBooks Online. And then, oh, there is another poll. If you guys could go ahead and select your answer there. And something that obviously we as accountants appreciate is there is actually a way to communicate and to share information with your accountant, whether it's us or somebody else. You can send documents back and forth, and as your accountant, they can log in and see your file at any time, which makes it great for QuickBooks support. Because if a client calls me and they are on QuickBooks Online, I can log in as long as they're associated with us. I can log in and look at their file and make changes should I need to, as I'm on the phone with them, and we can walk through steps together. So having everything cloud-based can be definitely an advantage when it comes to that. Okay, we can move on to the next slide. Things to consider, and this is where I say again, everything is not cookie cutter. So this would definitely need to be a conversation that you have either with us as your accounting firm or your accounting firm. Is how many company files do you have? Because obviously with QuickBooks Desktop, you can have 8 different company files to go along with the different funds, different projects that you have going on. And with QuickBooks Online, that's where things get a little more complicated. So that leads into the next point there of, do you need class tracking? So in QuickBooks, you can have what they call classes, which is kind of comparing to categories, I'll say. So for instance, like when you're looking at your profit and loss, you would have multiple columns going across. You would have a general, and then, whatever projects you would have. Like, I know some people have highway funds or park funds or anything like that. So again, that would be something that would need to be a more specific, what makes your municipality, your borough unique. So that would be something you would have to look at. And then we get into the next common question is QuickBooks payroll. Online payroll. And this was something that we actually brought up with our Intuit meeting as one of our biggest concerns when it comes to desktop sunsetting. Is as of right now, QuickBooks Online payroll is very, very limited. I know that sometimes with boroughs and municipalities, you could be, it's not just salary wages anymore. There's multiple different classes that you need to post to. So that's definitely something that we're looking into, and another reason why we are asking, especially municipalities and boroughs that have more complex files, to just kind of hold off and let Intuit catch up to what we're going to need. I think I just saw a question pop up. So QuickBooks Online handles class tracking very similar to desktop. Again, it's not quite as robust, and that is something that we have been bringing up to our Intuit representatives. I will say, since I have been helping another client here since I began, so 2 years, and they have gotten much more user-friendly with class tracking. So it won't look different if you're used to QuickBooks Desktop. When you go in and create an invoice or create a bill, the class is right there all the way on the right-hand side of the screen as it is in desktop. So Christina, if you can go on and move to the next slide. So now we're going to get into the different versions of QuickBooks Online. There is 4 different main versions, not including payroll. So again, similar to desktop and how they do this. The first one you see there is Simple Start. Simple Start is, to be blunt, not for anything government related. It is if you own a small business and you are a one-man shop, or if you just want to use it for personal use, if you have a complex tax, complex personal individual tax return. Again, essentials, we would probably not recommend to any government or education system. Again, it's just not robust enough to handle everything. So what we're going to be looking at is a plus or advanced for the different government clients. The limitation with Plus and where we're going to have to really look at is, as you can see there, the chart of accounts, you can only have 250 accounts. And unfortunately, even if you inactivate an account, so let's say you used an account for 10 years and now you're going to be changing things, that account is still in your account. The only way an inactive account does not count against you is if there has never been activity. So let's say, when you purchase QuickBooks Online, they have, I think, a chart of accounts of like 70 accounts. So if you just go ahead and inactivate one of those accounts, then your account number goes down. So when it comes to the DCED chart of accounts, obviously, there's multiple pages there. So depending on how thoroughly you are using that chart of accounts, you may have to go to the advanced just to have enough of your enough accounts available to you. Again, as you can see there with your classes and locations, you're limited when it comes to Plus to 40. So again, depending on how robust your file is, you can only have 40 different either classes or locations. In advance, there is no limit. And then I actually skipped the first line there for all access users. So somewhere else that online is a little more limited is with QuickBooks Desktop, you can set very specific user access. You can have a user who can only see accounts receivable sides. You can have, users that can't see anything payroll related. You can, there's multiple different ways you can set that up for your specific needs. And when it comes to QuickBooks Online, unfortunately, there is 3 different types of users. The most common are full access and report only. There's really no in between. You can either see everything or just what is on reports. So that's going to be something where you need to differentiate there. So people who have access to your QuickBooks file now might not necessarily fit into one of those scopes. So when it comes to Plus, you can have 5 all access users and as many report only users. So if you have more than 5 people that need to be able to access your QuickBooks account, you're going to have to go into the advanced.
Kendra, there is a question in the chat for you. You may have already answered this, but what are examples of class and or location?
So those can actually be tailored specifically to whatever you are needing when it comes to class. For example, I know I just helped a client set up classes. Now this is a manufacturing facility, but they have different classes for different locations to track cost and everything like that. You can also use it. I'm helping a township right now that they have like a highway fund. They want to track money that they're using for a specific grant. So we can set all of those up as classes. And then we would also recommend that you just have a general or overhead class to track all of those. Because if not, unfortunately, it will go into what we call an unclassified on your report, and it wouldn't necessarily be 100% accurate. So if you'd like to have a general, that way everything is still classified. So again, and then of course, location, you could use that if you did have multiple locations. I don't necessarily see that necessarily being for a borough township, unless you have 2, like I help the water authority. So they have like their office and then they have the plant. So you could use locations in that. So again, that would be a further in-depth conversation where we would look specifically at your file and decide which of those is going to be better for you. So I think now if you move on to the next slide, Christina, we'll keep comparing. So pretty much everything else, like we said, with the difference between QuickBooks Online Plus and QuickBooks Online Advanced is going to be the same. So it's going to come down to really your chart of accounts and your users. Because I know, there's some townships out there that have 3 people, and then there's some boroughs that have multiple people on staff that are or board of directors or anything like that. And going along with that, the accountant does not count against your users. In desktop, a lot of times, especially for clients that we have here, SEK is its own user, but your accountant does not count against you as a user. So those 5 or 25 users would be specific to your file. We would not count against that. I believe that is all we have. Is there any more specific questions that we have today for QuickBooks Online?
There is a question in the chat. When is QuickBooks Desktop set to expire? I thought you said there was no sunset date, but maybe you have more information.
Correct. So there is no sunset date as of yet. I will say they are moving desktop into a subscription based as well. I don't know if you guys have already seen that. I think as of 2021, it went into now you pay yearly. I know a lot of businesses are still trying to hold out on their one subscription and not make that extra payment. But I know that in 2024, then obviously QuickBooks 2021 will sunset and you'll be forced to renew. Unfortunately, and this is again not against SEK, this is strictly QuickBooks and Intuit. They are moving everything to subscription based, and I will touch on QuickBooks Online is a monthly payment. So you don't have that one large payment annually, it is a monthly based subscription. And yes, I will clarify there. Does QuickBooks Enterprise also apply to the sunsetting? QuickBooks Enterprise is not. So it is possible that after, we can look at your file and see what everything is going on. We may try to convert you over to QuickBooks Enterprise. Enterprise is definitely much more robust than desktop. So it's going to be that fine line of, is enterprise too much? Can we make online work? Looking at costs, looking at just a lot of different factors when it comes. But if you do already have QuickBooks Enterprise at this time, they have assured us that QuickBooks Enterprise is not going anywhere. They have a lot to do, especially when it comes to manufacturing companies that have, inventory and all kinds of job cost tracking and everything. They have a lot to do with online before they can get rid of enterprise on us.